Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. You know what if getting rich, fit, or successful isn't about talent or hustle? What if it's just math?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's crack Darren Hardy's formula for turning pocket change into fortunes and crumbs into banquets.
I love that.
Today, we are diving deep into Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect.
Oh,
Based on some really interesting material you've shared with us,
yeah.
our mission is to unpack this core idea that those small, consistent actions,
Right.
the ones that seem insignificant in the moment,
Uh-huh.
can actually lead to massive results over time.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is the range of reactions and insights we've got in these sources you provided. We have a thoughtful book review from Medium, a detailed summary, specifically structured for a podcast discussion, another take from DannyBooBoo.com, a professional review from LinkedIn, and then the real melting pot of opinions on the Goodreads page.
All right, so we've got a lot of different perspectives to work with here,
A lot of different perspectives.
which is great. I mean, that's what we want.
Exactly. It's going to give us a really well-rounded understanding of what this compound effect
Cool.
is all about
Okay.
and how it's landing with readers.
All right, so let's jump right in. The central theme that screams out from pretty much everything we've looked at is this power of small choices.
Yes.
It's almost counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to look for those big, dramatic shifts.
All right.
But Hardy's argument, echoed by so many here, is that it's those tiny, seemingly inconsequential daily decisions that are really shaping our lives in the long run.
Exactly. It's the accumulation.
Yeah.
Think of it like a rudder on a huge ship. A tiny adjustment consistently applied will eventually steer that ship in a completely different direction.
Wow.
Hardy's point is that our daily choices, even the ones we barely register,
Right.
are like those tiny rudder adjustments for our own lives.
And that penny example is so powerful, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That the thought that choosing a penny that doubles for a month over an immediate $3 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ends up being the far wealthier option.
With over 10 million by day 31.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit mind-blowing
It is.
when you actually look at the numbers.
And it highlights the nonlinear nature of growth that the compound effect describes. In the short term, the penny feels insignificant,
Okay.
but that consistent multiplication leads to an exponential curve.
Right.
It's a mathematical principle playing out in our daily lives, whether we're talking about finances, health,
Yeah.
or relationships.
Yeah. And it's not just about money, which is important to remember.
Absolutely.
The sources are full of examples. Those extra few calories a day
Yes.
that add up to significant weight gain over a year,
Right.
or the small amounts of money saved consistently, that eventually become a substantial investment.
Yeah.
You know, it's that slow, steady accumulation across all areas of life.
One of our summaries even pulled out a really succinct version of Hardy's core message.
Okay.
Small, smart choices plus consistency
Yeah.
plus time equals radical difference.
It's that time element. That's so crucial for the compounding to really take hold and produce those significant results.
That's right.
So if these small, consistent choices are so key, then our habits, you know, those automatic behaviors we repeat daily,
Right.
must be absolutely fundamental
They are.
to the compound effect.
They are the engine room, so to speak.
Yeah.
Several sources emphasize that our habits are the daily manifestation of those small choices.
Okay.
They're the repeated actions that either fuel positive compounding or lead to negative consequences over time.
Right.
Think about it. A good habit like reading for 15 minutes a day might seem small, but over years, the knowledge gained is immense.
That's a great example.
Conversely, a bad habit like skipping exercise can compound into significant health issues.
And the book gives us some practical advice on actually building those good habits.
Yeah,
Which is something I know a lot of people struggle with.
of course.
Things like becoming aware of what you're currently doing, tracking your habits,
Right.
and then consciously deciding to replace the less helpful ones with better alternatives.
Precisely. That act of tracking brings a level of awareness
Yeah.
that's often missing.
Yeah.
We can't change what we don't acknowledge.
Right.
And the replacement strategy is about finding a positive behavior to fill the void. Left by an unwanted one,
Yeah.
it's often more effective than simply trying to eliminate a habit through willpower alone.
Oh, I really like the point. That consistency is more powerful than intensity.
Yeah.
That making a small sustainable improvement of just 1% each day
Oh.
is far more effective in the long run than those occasional bursts of intense effort that are hard to maintain. It speaks to that idea of the steady drip eventually filling the bucket.
That's a crucial mindset shift. We live in a culture that often glorifies heroic efforts.
Yeah.
But the compound effect reminds us that it's the consistent, often unglamorous daily actions that yield the most significant results.
Right. It's not about the big splash. It's about
playing the long game.
the consistency over time.
Yeah.
There were a couple of really impactful quotes that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
One of the summaries highlighted, "You will never change your life until you change something you do daily."
Oh, that's so good.
And someone on LinkedIn wisely noted that motivation gets you started, but habit keeps you going.
Ooh,
That really resonates with me
I love that quote.
because it's that idea that we can't rely on feeling inspired all the time.
Those quotes encapsulate the essence perfectly. Motivation is like a spark. It can ignite the process,
Yeah.
but it's the consistent fuel of habit that keeps the fire burning
Right.
and allows for that compounding growth to occur.
It's like you need that initial spark to get things going, but then you need that fuel to keep it burning over the long term.
You got it.
Now, this idea of momentum also came up quite a bit in our sources.
Yeah.
This feeling that when you first start making these small changes,
Yeah.
it might not seem like you're getting anywhere.
Right.
And that can be a bit discouraging, right?
Absolutely. The book addresses this by explaining that results often lag behind the initial effort. It's like pushing a heavy boulder. It takes a lot of energy to get it moving even slightly. And for a while, you might not see much visible progress.
So you're putting in all this effort and you're not seeing the results right away.
Right.
But then there's this tipping point where things start to accelerate
Yeah.
and the results become much more noticeable.
Exactly.
It's like that boulder finally starts rolling downhill.
All that initial effort builds up potential energy. And once you reach that tipping point, the momentum takes over.
Okay.
And growth becomes much more rapid.
I like that, the tipping point. The analogy of the bloggers slowly gaining followers and then suddenly having a viral post and a huge influx of subscribers.
Good one.
Illustrates this really well. It's that delayed gratification.
Yeah.
That's often the challenge.
Yes, it is.
And, one of the Medium reviewers mentioned Hardy, playfully referring to Big Mo.
Big Mo.
Momentum as a friend.
I like that.
It's kind of a catchy way to think about it.
It is. Once you've established those good habits and start seeing some initial results, that momentum becomes a powerful ally,
Right.
making it easier to stick with it.
But it's worth remembering. The critique from DannyBugu.com, which questioned the spaceship analogy Hardy used,
Right.
They argued that escaping gravity requires initial energy, not momentum.
Interesting.
Highlighting that analogy is, while helpful, aren't always perfect scientific comparisons.
Good point. Yeah.
And that's a good reminder for us and for you to think critically about the comparisons being made.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get caught up in the analogy and forget that it's just an analogy. So we've talked about our internal environment, our habits, but the book also looks at how our external surroundings can impact us.
It does, yeah.
This ripple effect.
The ripple effect.
Hardy stresses that our environment, the people we surround ourselves with,
Right.
the media we consume,
Yes.
our daily routines, has a profound influence on our habits and therefore on the compound effect in our lives.
Absolutely. We're constantly absorbing cues and influences from our surroundings.
And it makes perfect sense, right? If you're trying to eat healthier, but your kitchen is full of junk food, or if you're trying to be more positive, but you're constantly engaging with negative people. You're swimming upstream.
You're fighting an uphill battle.
The sources mentioned the importance of auditing your inputs.
Yes.
Unfollowing those toxic social media accounts. Seeking out supportive communities, even finding mentors who embody the qualities you're striving for.
It's about consciously designing your environment to support your goals.
Oh.
It's like a gardener cultivating the soil for healthy plants.
That's a great analogy.
One of the Goodreads reviewers even brought up the book's suggestion of identifying and perhaps distancing yourself from 3-minute people, those who consistently drain your energy and don't contribute positively to your life.
So these are people who you're only going to spend 3 minutes with.
Yeah. It's a tough piece of advice.
Yeah.
But it underscores the impact of our social circle.
Yeah. And I think that's something we don't often think about, is the impact of our social circle on our goals and our habits.
Right.
But it's so important.
It is, yeah.
Now, let's be realistic. Nobody's perfect, and we're going to have days where we slip up, where we don't stick to our good habits.
Of course.
The book seems to address this with the idea of a cheating clause.
Yes, the cheating clause acknowledges that occasional deviations are inevitable and won't completely derail your progress, provided you quickly return to your positive habits.
Okay, so it's not about being perfect. It's about
not letting a small setback turn into a full-scale abandonment of your efforts. It's about resilience and getting back on the wagon.
And that sounds like a much more sustainable and less guilt-ridden approach than demanding absolute perfection, which is often unrealistic.
It is.
And then a recurring theme across the sources is the critical importance of actually tracking your progress.
Absolutely. The adage, what gets measured gets managed, is particularly relevant here.
I like that one.
By tracking your actions and their outcomes, whether it's your exercise or your spending or your progress on a work project, you gain valuable insights into what's working and where you might need to adjust.
It provides that objective feedback.
It does.
So one of the reviews mentioned Hardy's weekly rhythm register as a specific tool for tracking weekly goals and progress.
Okay.
That sounds like a tangible way to put this into practice.
It does.
And I noticed someone on Goodreads emphasizing the significance of taking 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you.
I like that.
That feels very connected to this idea of actively managing your progress. You can't manage what you don't own.
Exactly. Taking full responsibility puts you in the driver's seat. It shifts the focus from blaming external circumstances to identifying what you can control and influence.
Right, and then tracking provides the data to inform those actions. Now it's important to get a balanced perspective, and our sources definitely offer some critical viewpoints on the compound effect.
Right.
You know, it's not been universally embraced.
That's right. Several reviewers raised valid points of critique.
Okay.
One common observation was about Hardy's writing style, which some perceived as being somewhat ego-driven.
Okay.
With instances of what they felt were humble brags and excessive name-dropping.
Yeah. One of the medium reviewers, while appreciating the core message, described parts of it as cringy.
Cringy, okay.
And on Goodreads, there were readers who found Hardy's tone off-putting, even describing him as insufferable. Ooh. So not everyone loves his style.
Not everyone loves the style, no.
There were also concerns about some of the comparisons and analogies used in the book.
Okay.
For instance, the scenario involving 3 hypothetical individuals making different choices over time was questioned for its realism, particularly in the context of dietary changes. And I recall the elephant and mosquito analogy being specifically called out as not particularly effective.
Interesting.
It seems some readers found these illustrative examples a bit weak or oversimplified.
So not all of the analogies hit the mark?
Not all of them.
Okay.
No. Furthermore, several Goodreads reviewers pointed out that the book's examples of success seemed narrowly focused, primarily revolving around extreme wealth and idealized physical appearances. You know, this resonated with the idea that success is a very personal and multifaceted concept, encompassing things like family artistic fulfillment or making a positive impact on the world, which might not be adequately addressed in the book.
That's a really important point about the definition of success being so individual.
It is, and there was some pretty strong criticism directed at the book's advice, mentioned by a few Goodreads reviewers, to choose friends based on their financial status. I mean, that did not land well with a lot of readers.
Yes, that suggestion was widely seen as overly materialistic and potentially quite unethical.
Yeah.
Prioritizing financial gain over genuine human connection and shared values.
Right.
It definitely struck a sour note with many readers.
Another significant critique that emerged from the Goodreads reviews, centered on the book's strong emphasis on individual choice as the primary determinant of outcomes. Some readers felt this perspective downplayed the significant influence of broader societal and environmental factors, particularly in different economic and social contexts.
That's a crucial point about acknowledging systemic influences. Individuals operate within larger systems, and factors like socioeconomic status, access to resources, and systemic inequalities can significantly impact opportunities and outcomes. Something that a sole focus on individual choice might overlook.
So it's not a level playing field.
Right, it's not always a level playing field.
For everyone. There were also some specific criticisms regarding the health and nutrition advice offered in the book, particularly the idea of simply counting calories, without considering the nutritional value of those calories. The science of nutrition is far more complex than just calorie counting. And some reviewers with expertise in that area pointed out this oversimplification could be misleading.
Yeah, it's not just about the numbers.
Right. It's about what you're actually putting into your body.
Exactly.
And perhaps surprisingly, given subsequent events, the book's use of Lance Armstrong as a success story was flagged as problematic by one reviewer.
Right.
Well, and that's a valid point.
It is.
As Armstrong's achievements were later revealed to be based on unethical and rule-breaking behavior, raising questions about who we hold up as models of success.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point.
One insightful reviewer even suggested that the book's formula of effort, consistency, patience might be less effective than a cycle of action feedback correction, highlighting the importance of learning and adapting based on the results you're getting.
I like that.
So it's not just about
putting in the effort.
Right?
It's about paying attention to the feedback and making adjustments along the way.
That emphasizes the need for a dynamic approach, rather than just blindly persisting. Feedback allows for necessary adjustments and optimization of your efforts.
And finally, the advice to limit or even avoid news consumption entirely drew mixed reactions.
Of course.
While some saw it as a way to maintain focus on personal goals, others felt it could lead to a narrow worldview and a lack of awareness about important current events.
Yeah, I can see both sides of that.
It's a tricky one.
It is. It really depends on how you define being informed and the balance you strike between focusing on your personal goals and staying engaged with the wider world.
Right.
It's a personal decision with potential trade-offs.
It is so. With all of these different perspectives in mind, how can you, our listener, take the core principles of the compound effect and apply them effectively in your own life?
That's the big question.
That is the big question. What are the takeaways here? Despite the valid criticisms, the fundamental power of small, consistent actions remains a key takeaway. The most actionable advice is to simply start small.
Start small.
Identify one tiny habit you want to cultivate.
Okay.
Maybe it's exercising for 5 minutes each day.
Yeah.
Or reading a single page of a book. Or saving a small amount of money.
So tiny habits that can build over time.
These seemingly insignificant actions done consistently can indeed lead to significant transformations over time.
And, as we discussed, designing your environment to support those good habits is crucial.
Make it easy to do the things you want to do. And harder to fall back into old, less productive patterns.
Set yourself up for success.
Automate positive actions whenever possible.
Right.
Understand that these significant results often come after a period of sustained effort where you might not see much visible progress.
So be patient. Don't get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged by that initial lag. Trust in the compounding process.
Your underlying values and the deep reasons behind your goals was highlighted by several readers. You know that intrinsic motivation can be a powerful driver.
It can.
When the going gets tough.
Absolutely. That deeper purpose provides resilience and helps you stay committed, even when motivation wanes.
And as one of our reviewers mentioned, this book can be a valuable starting point for those who are new to the concepts of self-improvement and habit formation.
It can be a good introduction.
So if you're just starting out on your self-improvement journey, this could be a good book for you. And the simple act of tracking your habits, as emphasized in so many of our sources, is a really practical first step towards gaining awareness and making informed decisions about your behavior.
It provides valuable data that can reveal patterns you might not have been conscious of.
And the idea of finding a success partner for accountability and mutual support, which came up in the Goodreads reviews, can also be incredibly helpful in staying on track.
That external accountability can provide that extra push you need on days when your own motivation is low.
It's like having a cheerleader in your corner.
Exactly.
Finally, as one wise reviewer pointed out, simply learning about these concepts isn't enough.
No.
You have to take action.
You have to apply, and apply what resonates with you in your own life.
Knowledge without action is useless.
It is. It's just information.
So the compound effect, as you can see, is a powerful concept emphasizing the long-term impact of your daily choices.
Absolutely.
While some aspects of Hardy's approach have drawn criticism, the core principle of small, consistent actions driving significant results, offers a valuable framework for achieving your goals.
It does.
Consider what small, seemingly insignificant changes you could start making today. Think about the cumulative effect these actions could have over months and years.